Okay, I know that this might sound crazy, and it makes a lot less sense than the whole Rick Grimes theory that everyone's throwing around these days for the last part of season 9 of The Walking Dead. But let's just be crazy and speculate on something real quick. Let's jump right into it. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. Alright guys, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. I'm going to be doing my own little twist on the whole Walking Dead theory that everyone is talking about right now. Like, how is season 9 of The Walking Dead going to end, and is Eugene going to hear from Rick Grimes? Of course, this moment in particular would be really heavy for every single Walking Dead fan because AMC made such a huge deal that Rick Grimes was leaving in season 9 and that he would never be coming back or anything else like that. And I know a lot of people think that they're going to be writing off Michonne in season 10, and this could be one of the ways that they get her off the show and onto those Rick Grimes movies, or at least a second or third one. Who knows what's going to happen in the first one. But still, it would be interesting if it is Rick. And I feel like that would be a decent enough cliffhanger for this season that would get people invested in what's going to happen in season 10. How is the Whisperer War going to pan out? What is with the Commonwealth and just everything surrounding that? I know I'm not really giving any real specifics, of course. I like just kind of spoilers for the comic books for right now, so just jump off this or skip forward or something, whatever. But in the comic books, Eugene is messing around with the radios the exact same way that he's doing over the last couple episodes of The Walking Dead, and he gets into a conversation with this woman named Stephanie, who is a member of the Commonwealth, and they keep each other secret from their communities as they build their trust, and eventually they realize that the Commonwealth is this 50,000 people civilization, I think in Iowa, and eventually everyone goes there, and there's a lot of problems that build up in there, and that's just the general story right after the Whisperers. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting for The Walking Dead to get to that point, but realizing if they do the whole Rick theory thing, then it, one, either confirms that the Commonwealth is the helicopter people, which I think a lot of people would be okay with. I mean, that's one of the big things that we've been talking about for the longest time in this community, so it wouldn't be that much of a shock. But at the same time, I feel like if that's the case, then you're either limiting the helicopter people into something a little bit more fathomable, or you're not allowing the universes to connect in the best way possible. Because if the Commonwealth is just a 50,000 person community, then they wouldn't have enough resources like they don't have in the comic books to stretch nationwide. And really the one reason I'm talking about nationwide is because we know that Fear the Walking Dead is happening in Texas. It happened in Texas in season 4, and now it's going to happen in Texas in season 5, or at least a little bit more into Texas, not just around the Austin area. So, and Scott Gimple just recently said that the 5th season of Fear the Walking Dead is going to be airing in June, and the very first part of that season deals with something that we already are aware of in the broader sense, or the broader world of The Walking Dead. Now, a lot of people don't know what that means yet. It can mean almost anything. You can talk about characters that we knew or met, like Troy or Daniel back in season 3, or we can talk about how they're bringing in Dwight. He's looking for his wife, and that's something that we're well aware of, and this is the big crossover again that they're talking about for this season. But a lot of people have also been talking about how the Fear the Walking Dead is going to make the universe of The Walking Dead that much smaller. And if you're a fan of Rick Grimes, if you're excited for the Rick Grimes movies, then season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead is something that you really need to watch. Now, I don't know what that could possibly mean, although the only thing we know about the Rick Grimes movies is this whole helicopter community. So what if them saying this is them hinting to us that this whole helicopter community isn't just in the northeast of the United States. In fact, it's nationwide. They have helicopters, big cities, modes of transportation in all different areas of the United States, maybe even the biggest cities. You know, you have one in New York, you have one in LA, you have one in Houston, you have one all over the place whenever there's a big city. And this was places that they were able to cultivate, fight off the dead, and find resources. I mean, where the resources really would be in these big, huge cities like Houston and New York and Los Angeles and all these other places. So what if, just what if, Eugene at the end of season 9 doesn't end up talking to Rick, but he doesn't talk to Stephanie either. He talks to Madison. Yes, the helicopter people are the Commonwealth, but they're making the Commonwealth that much bigger in the television world, or this universe that they're building for AMC, in order to make this universe and story that much bigger, right? To expand and allow for all these different spin-offs, these character pieces, and everything else like that.
So somehow, I'm not going to get into the science of it all. I have no idea how any of this would work or whether it would be even remotely possible, but it's Madison. It gives us a sense that the crossovers aren't just happening between the main show and people from the main show going all the way over to Fear the Walking Dead. And it allows us to see how Dwight and all these other people might have made their way to Fear the Walking Dead, and that people from Fear the Walking Dead are going to make their way to The Walking Dead, and vice versa. And all these characters, all these stories are going to start intersecting and intertwining because of this helicopter group, which might be the Commonwealth, might be something else, might be Angela Kang and Scott Gimple and everyone else's involved with the AMC television show, their version of it, that they're going to take the source material and they're just going to play with it in the best way possible. I know a lot of people want to see Rick Grimes back, or they want to have some inclination that Rick Grimes is part of this universe, or somehow Daryl, Carol, Michonne, Eugene, all these other people know that Rick is alive, and they're still going to remain hopeful for the day when he comes back to them. I feel like that's totally fine. As I said before, it does set up a nice way for them to get rid of Michonne sometime in the future, but I feel like you run the risk of having your main characters in this show too focused still on the death and departure of their lead from the last 9 years. I mean, I feel like they've handled this in a really nice way. I feel like that's one of the reasons they did this 6-year time skip, because if you just went into the very next day after Rick Grimes disappeared, then you would have to use the entirety of the season to just deal with that impact. Jumping ahead 6 years, people have gotten over it, and the only people who haven't gotten over it are really just Michonne and Daryl, and they're already scarred, I mean, physically and mentally, emotionally, from Rick leaving and other things. I mean, they're just not going to get over things. So yeah, maybe them knowing that Rick is alive, at least this early on, it might create a little hope, but it might create kind of a narrative block for the characters moving forward. It doesn't allow closure for people like Daryl or even Michonne or anybody else moving into season 10, because it just leaves that big of a question. But if it's someone like Madison, someone that we know has been dead in this universe, or at least should have been dead for what? If Fear the Walking Dead ended up getting at least close to where The Walking Dead was during the Negan War, then she's been dead for like more than 10 years at this point, or at least presumed dead for more than 10 years at this point, and yet she's alive. She can go into the main show. She can be set up for the Rick Grimes movies. Heck, she could be the answer to the A and B problem. If the helicopter people, as a lot of people have been speculating, if the A and B problem is who's been bit and who hasn't been bit, and how can we help them, how can we save them, and just everything in general. What if she was bit or almost died somehow, just something in that baseball field in episode 8 of season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, and you thought that she was dead? Maybe we can go back and explain how she was just kind of roaming the earth or whatever after all of that, but because of the blaze in the diamond, the helicopter people came down and they rescued her, and they have the means to cure her. Now she's working for them or something else like that. She's indebted and slave to them, if that's the story that they're going to tell with this. I don't know, but it would be really interesting to see Madison show back up and maybe be a main player in the Rick Grimes movies. I mean, tell me if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you haven't been just clawing at the bit to get Rick Grimes and Madison Clark in the same scene together. They are two amazing leads, and I feel like they got rid of both of them way too soon, especially before we got a main crossover between the two series. It was a mistake to get rid of her, and if they get rid of her, I know it wasn't the plan, but if they got rid of her and they thought, okay, the major backlash that we saw from that just didn't really work out, so we're just going to allow Lenny James to continue on with Fear the Walking Dead, and we're going to bring her into these Rick Grimes movies just to kind of appease the fans, and this is the best possible way to do it, so you connect not only the Rick Grimes movies, Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, with Madison in place of Stephanie in the comic book arc of the television show, but it also sets up the next season. It sets up the movies. It gives us a reason to speculate why or how or any of these other things are set up in the future. I mean, it doesn't have to be Rick. I mean, think about it this way. And I know I'm off on like a little bit of a tangent right now, but think of it this way. If Madison explains to Eugene, especially with Eugene being so close to Gabriel right now, if Madison explains to Eugene that this community is set up and there's all of these helicopters and it's all these big cities and all this other stuff, and he tells Gabriel about the helicopters and they have that technology, then Gabriel's going to tell him what Jadis did to him and everything related to that, the A's and B's, and they're going to start piecing things together, and then they're going to tell Michonne and Daryl, and they're going to be like, hey, we were never able to find Rick's body. I mean, Daryl went all the way to the ocean and he couldn't find Rick's body. Maybe Rick is still alive out there. Maybe he was taken by the same people who took this girl. He's in one of these cities or one of these areas that they have, and they have New Hope to go find Rick, but they don't have to have Rick talking to them again. And it's another character that we know, another huge fan favorite, and we know that she's alive, setting her up for the movies as well, and maybe a major stand-in for the first movie when they don't have Michonne, because they're going to have to explain that 6-year time skip or whatever it might be. So I'm just throwing it out there. I know a lot of people want the Rick thing at the very end of season 9. I know I would really like that. But if it has to be just someone from the Commonwealth or just something related to the helicopter people in general, then let's have it be Madison. I think that makes much more sense, and I think it would be a huge moment. I mean, super shocking, not too predictable, and something that would really set up, make this world huge and also small at the same time. I hope everyone is enjoying this video. I hope everyone enjoys the content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. Also, go down to the description section below, hit that link, and go follow me on Twitter. We could talk about The Walking Dead. We can talk about anything I cover on this channel or my other channel. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. It's been real.